with this media, plus some additional young reader novels, video games, and short stories from Star Wars Insider, was to cover the 3 years of the Clone Wars over the 3 years between Episode 2 and 3. In practice, you'll sometimes see the label extended a bit to refer to most things covering the Clone Wars up until the 2008 show and its various tie-in media, so that includes stuff like the Republic Commando books, Dark Lord, the Republic Commando game, and so on, even though they're not strictly part of what the project referred to directly.
Good game.
Well, some of the fan complaints about the 2008 Clone Wars cartoon comes down to opinions on quality. That's not something I'm really going to touch today. This isn't a review of the series or an attempt to compare the quality of the original show to 2008.
Well,
Instead, where the controversy I'm talking about today...
Yeah, I'm laughing because we just watched that episode on your show, actually, with those stupid pacifist aliens.
Oh my god.
He was just showing... He was showing a bit of the Clone Wars game as well, which I played when they released it on PSN, and that one is actually really underrated. People always talk the Revenge of the Sith game, but the Episode 2 game was pretty tight. Lots of vehicle combat. They had a whole storyline that they made for it with, I forget, there's some big doomsday weapon that Dooku's trying to get.
It's
like a loose dark wave it's trying to unleash.
What was it called? Was it the game where Anakin also visits the planet Renvar, John?
I think so. Is that like a jungly planet? He gets captured at one point.
Yeah, it's like the planet where Anakin meets the ghost of Ulic Keldroma. Hang on.
Yeah, I remember you're like breaking out of a camp like in the jungle at one point, and then you play as Obi-Wan and Mace and Anakin and stuff, and they Final level kind of looks like Independence Day. It's this big ship with a ball on the bottom.
I know. Yeah, I'm trying to find the damn. I know you keep playing the video. I'm gonna keep looking for it.
Very underrated, though. I feel like not a lot of people talk about that game.
Right. Anyway.
Came from is the classic issue of canon and continuity.
Yes.
Essentially, the claim is that the 2008 show should not be considered canon to the expanded universe, now called Legends, because of contradictions to the prior established.
As it shouldn't be. I mean, why? I guess it also it's kind of irrelevant, I guess, if it's not continued only a little bit. But in the case that it is continued, we'll just say that. I think what I think they should do is move what is it? It's T canon for television canon, even though it's just Dave Filoni's canon. That's really what it is. Anything that is Dave Filoni or related to Dave Filoni is T canon. So I don't know why it's called T canon. Anyways,
the reason they called it T canon is basically to give Dave Filoni that shit he craves the most, that maximum creative freedom, pretty much.
Yeah, his unlimited power, basically.
Yeah.
That was the start of it. But I think that they should just move it down to S canon, like how they did the Marvel comics, because anything that is contradicted by the Clone Wars should take precedence.
Right.
If they are going to continue Legends.
Yeah. Also, John, it's the Force Harvester. That's what we were thinking of.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, I remembered it was like gathering up, and then it was gonna
look like a big UFO thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Disney power.
Yeah, pretty much.
Says.
It was Kathleen Kennedy in the middle of that ball you were shooting.
Yeah.
Force is female.
Established canon, particularly contradictions between it and the Multimedia Project. These issues include, but are not limited to, the inclusion of Ahsoka, despite her never being mentioned in media which supposedly existed to cover the entirety of the war before, the existence of the pacifist faction ruling Manda-LORE, the inhibitor chips in the clones versus Order 66 simply being a part of and result of their training and conditioning, and a variety of other things, some smaller, like when characters met, and some larger, more on the scale of the ones I already mentioned, including one particular example that we'll get into later in the video. The idea that this was separate from the expanded universe was taken even further with the announcement of the sequel trilogy and the reboot of the expanded universe. Since the 2008 show was being included in the new canon, much like the movies, there were renewed arguments that it could, should, or even was excluded from the rebranded Legends continuity, followed
no shit, it's going to be included. It was made by Dave Filoni.
Yeah, pretty much. They always say, like, oh, well, George was involved with the show. That's why they kept it. Well, George was involved with a ton of other projects in the EU, so why are they not getting carried over?
Force Unleashed, Shadows of the Empire?
Yep.
I think, wasn't If I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Force Unleashed was his idea in the first place.
I think I don't remember whose idea was first, but either way, yeah, it's like he definitely helped out on them. Yeah,
He
Thief
was
Cinder,
big on Force Unleashed. I know
yeah,
that.
big time advisor. Thief Cinder says, not the Force is all inclusive, but mainly female. Like, why replace C-3PO's leg red and not the OG? Forever disdains to never be complete. Thief Cinder, you need to get like a fucking spell check or some shit, man. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't completely understand. Or
Or
was
was
it the
it the
arm?
arm? It was the
Wait.
arm, Thief Cinder. Anyway, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think I know what he's talking about.
By the serious allegation that the show didn't even like this video or subscribe for more. But aside from people being completely free to say they didn't like the changes it made, I think these claims ignore a lot of how the Legends continuity evolved after the 2008 Clone Wars show started, and overstate the cohesiveness of the pre-existing continuity, even just within the multimedia project. As far as the development of the 2008 show goes, concerns about continuity did come up pretty quickly among some fans, and it's definitely true that consistency with pre-existing material was not a significant concern for George Lucas, who was very much involved in the initial production of the show,
No,
including being the originator of
really.
Sorry, English is not my native. It's all good. Thief Cinder, all are welcome here.
See,
Even
like,
the soy boys.
if Rosario, if she had been wearing that outfit during the Ahsoka show, it would have had better ratings. I'm just saying.
Yeah, isn't that weird that she's wearing that as a 14-year-old?
Oh, yeah, we've discussed this before whenever we're watching Clone Wars, because we'll be like, why was it okay for her to wear like the short skirt and this super revealing outfit when she's a teenager, but then when she grows up, she's got to wear a garbage bag? That seems to be kind of the reverse of how it should be.
Oh, my Lord. Fucking Christ.
I don't
Rosario
know.
Dawson
Dave
was
Filoni's
probably
kind of
like,
a weirdo.
"Nah,
Also,
yeah.
no, George Lucas was not involved in a lot of the pre-production beyond funding the damn show. He basically like left them to themselves, and he was like busy with other crap. He was busy with Red Tails. He was busy with The Force Unleashed. He was busy trying to get Underworld up and going. He was
Oh,
simply
yeah.
too busy to fucking like sign off on everything, so he just let like the people below, like directly below him, like sign off on this.
Wasn't he like, didn't he have like a new wife and shit at the time as well?
Yeah, I think that's her right there. I always forget her name, but I think that's her right there. I know she's a black lady. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta say it like Ryan. She's black.
He's black. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was watching an old Charlie Kirk clip the other day, like way before he actually had like a camera crew and everything,
Oh shit.
and like the microphones, and he was talking to these college students, right? And then he just casually refers to black people as blacks. I was like, dude. And he was like baffled whenever people were like, well, why is that a bad thing? And I was
Well,
like,
thing is, it's like not on its own. It's kind of like whenever like people just use like Jap instead of Japanese. Like a lot of World War II veterans say it in a racist way, but it's just like, no, it is just like a simple shorthand for the other word. It doesn't have to have hate behind it, but I get like culturally a lot of people take it that way.
yeah.
Uh,
Thief Cinder says, not red, not a Twi'lek, Togruta.
She's a
Oh,
Togruta,
yeah.
yeah.
and Ahsoka, I think the Togruta have head tails instead of Leku. I think they're
Yeah.
different.
I'll follow this channel and try to join the talks another day. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate the view, appreciate the follow.
Yeah, Twitch is tough
well-
to find non-bots on, so congratulations. That's all
Yeah,
I ever get
honestly.
on Twitch.
Yeah, it's hard to I stream Wednesdays and Sundays, by the way. But I mostly stream video games on those days. These I kind of don't really have a schedule for, but yeah, I would like to do these more often.
Yeah,
Voice-wise.
John, you're right. Head tails, yeah. Anyway.
I'm not in a state to do that. Not sure what you mean.
The idea that Anakin had a Padawan, even if a lot of the actual work into creating Ahsoka and a lot of the show running was done more directly by Dave Filoni, and
Okay,
especially in
that's
the eyes of the
correct.
fans, Filoni became the main name and face attached to the show. Filoni addressed a question in 2008 about continuity with the expanded universe, saying this.
But much like the actual theatrical features, we can't let that get in the way of telling the story George
Oh
wants
no.
to.
It looks like
Story
Filoni's
that
on our
just kinda
show
makes
right
sense for the period of time we're
Okay,
involved with.
Filoni, let me
take a
ask
lot of
you.
that
Let me ask you this: if this is the story George wanted, why does he have no writing credits or directing credits or fucking
Ooh.
anything beyond producer?
I never thought about that.
And Lethal Nonsense. I don't know if you were a Star Wars Marvel purist fan before, he's still on Rumble, obviously, but before his channel got axed, but he would always have the clip of Filoni like confessing that he snuck stuff past Lucas in the final edit after Lucas had already looked at the episode. He'd be like,
Yeah.
okay, and now I'm going to put things in. Like,
Yeah,
he outright
like
says
he
it.
wanted the ending to like be like have like a different or whatever thing. Like like basically the ending was like slightly different from how they usually do their endings. Showed it to George. George liked it. And then he was like, okay. And then he was like, I didn't put it on there. Like, it's like, I wasn't the good ending I was going to go. I didn't put it on there. And plus, also, that just reminds me, if this really is the story George wanted to tell, like, well, George wanted Ahsoka dead. So is this really the story George wanted to tell, Dave?
Wait, which
Is it?
time? She's died like 4 times now.
Oh my God. Anyways, Lethal, go back 10 seconds. I talked over him a little bit anyway.
Features, we can't let that get in the way of telling the story George wants to, or telling a story that just kind of makes sense for the period of time we're involved with. I take a lot of that information that I'm aware of and I bring it in front of George when we're first pitching out an idea.
That's
Or when
bullshit.
he has an idea and I say, well, this was on Wikipedia and this is in
That's
this
bullshit.
dictionary, so we better look at this. And, he considers it or not. Sometimes he hasn't seen the material at all and he's kind of surprised.
That's bullshit.
He
He
sees the
hasn't-
material and he's kind of surprised.
Yeah, he hasn't seen it at all.
It's like George Lucas has literally been on record saying like, oh yeah, I've read the Republic comics. They're pretty good. I really like that Quinlan Voss guy in there. Yeah.
And that's why he mentioned him in the Attack of the Clones. Thief Cinder says, "Stop keeping me here. I'm trying to leave." No, we're trying to keep you here. We're trying to have a
Stay
good time.
here. We've got your dog or something. You have to stay here.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just not something that interests him because, it wasn't really something that he had invented and he wants to go a different direction.
So ultimately, much like he did with the prequels,
What?
George was going to do what George wanted.
What's an example of something like, oh, it's something George would do? It's like examples, motherfucker.
Nah, I gotta keep it vague.
Oh my
Ooh,
God.
George, I like the green
What-
flannel
What
here.
a fucking snake, man. Fucking Filoni, man.
Yeah, he really is. That, and then he just did not have any regard for anybody else's creativity, especially
No.
women. We got to remember that.
Yeah.
When people talk about grifters, like they're a lot of times they're talking about like, oh, you're just saying things to make money, but like this is saying something like make an image of yourself that's not true. Like he's been trying to make himself the heir to George with he does it like sort of he is a snake because he does it like in these subtle little ways. Oh, George and I. It's like he's constantly trying to connect the two of them. It's just like, and it worked on some people. Like I remember Christian Harloff would always be like, "Oh, the way they fix Star Wars is to hand it to Dave Filoni," and I didn't know who the fuck he was other than that he was from Pittsburgh. So I was like, "Oh well, great, a Pittsburgh guy. Apparently he knows the EU and shit. He'll take it over." And it's like, and then you discover after like, then I actually watched Clone Wars and shit. And I'm like, I don't want this guy. This guy makes shit.
Mm-hmm. Christ.
To do, while others around him, like Dave, had a bit more experience with the expanded universe and tried to get in a few things.
Okay, that's false.
not.
That's false. Dave has super fucking minimal experience on the EU. Like if you look at like what he shows in TCW and all his other crap, he has very minimal experience. The most I could say he has is like he's played and beaten KOTOR 1. And he played KOTOR 2, but he didn't beat it. He at least made it up to Onderon in KOTOR 2. That's about it. That's all his fucking. That's about as deep as his experience goes.
Well, you can't forget. Remember that one video that they put out that was just so tacky that they were talking about the expanded universe before? I think they referred to it as Legends. It's all
Yeah.
these people that talk about the expanded universe, this and that, and all they're talking about is the covers, Filoni included. And I don't know, it was just like some weird tacky send off, but like they didn't really say anything about like decanonizing the expanded universe, even though we all knew it was happening by
Hmm.
that point. And it was just really weird. And
Hmm.
all they could ever talk about was the covers, the covers. So we had like a recurring joke on my podcast at that time about, oh, I like that cover. I like pictures, especially when they move, because
Yeah.
Filoni's not a reader.
Fuck no, man.
Filoni.
Filoni baloney. Anyway.
Or at least gave George and the show the option of following it and pulling from it or not. But the overriding concern, as it so often is, was telling the story they wanted to tell, and this certainly applies to Filoni and the other writers as well. I don't want to give the impression that this was just George fighting back against a room full of people who were trying to maintain the sanctity of continuity or
George
something.
wasn't
You can
in the
decide
room
for
to
yourself
begin
how
with.
serious or
Oh my god, you fucking idiot.
Say.
No, I said it's like, well, yeah, it's like it wasn't a case of George trying to get back into a room full of idiots. Like George wasn't in the room to begin with. So like of course he couldn't fucking fight back against this shit. He wasn't there. He was busy with other shit.
What I find weird is that George is always the executive approval authority on what is and what isn't. So I don't know why he never really like pushed back on anything. He just kind of let Dave Filoni wreck his
He was,
universe.
like I said, he was busy with other stuff, and he was also getting very old. And fucking prequel backlash that RLM started was finally getting to him. So that's pretty much it.
I mean, also it was like 2008 that series started. He sold it in 2012. So he was kind of like, he was very clearly by that timeline, he's getting at the end of his rope on like, so he probably just didn't care as much at that point. He knew he was going to sell it probably well before he did.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, yeah, I guess I'm glad like people are still talking about it or whatever. I don't think he was completely into it at that point, because you don't just suddenly decide to sell it one day. Like it was clearly, I think the interest was gradually waning.
Yeah, especially since especially since he didn't get the clearance to make Underworld, because that was basically what he was really fucking banking on. That's what he really wanted to fucking do. He wanted to make Underworld, but he needed the fucking space to like build a studio and whatnot for that show. The state of California like didn't. I don't remember the whole story off the top of my head. I'm just giving you what I remember. But like the state of California said, no, we're not going to let you use this land to like build your own studio for your pet project, basically. So like that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and that's what basically made him sell it to Disney. Hang on, let me look at the full
Building
thing.
anything in California is a nightmare, and I know this from pretty personal experience. I have a family member who's head of a construction company there, and yeah, he was just talking about the ridiculous requirements they would have. Like you had to have a woman on your construction crew, and he's like, well, they can't physically handle it, so we just hire one, and she just stands around like in the sites, like it's just dead weight.
Okay, guys, I figured out. So Lucas had been attempting to work on the show for years, but no TV studio or network was willing to provide the cost for the show. So that too, as it was estimated that the budget would be at least $5 million per episode. $5 million an episode. So before selling the company to Disney, Lucas had considered giving up the middleman and building a new studio for the series himself on land he purchased near Skywalker Ranch, but the government of Marin County wouldn't let him build film production space in an area that was zoned to be a residential street, and their refusal to give him a permit to build the studio was what led to the project's indefinite postponement. The Marin County Zoning Board's final decision against Lucas happened just before he attended the opening to the revamped Star Tours at Disney World, where Bob Iger privately asked him if he was willing to consider selling to Disney. And since the Marin County government's decision killed the last chance to get Underworld made, he told him that he was open to negotiate a sale because he felt that it was time to move on. So basically, if it wasn't for Bay Area zoning laws, not only would we have gotten Underworld, but Lucas would have never sold his company to Disney to begin with. Yeah.
Wow. And what was the other thing? Oh yeah, you said 5 million an episode. So how much is Andor an episode if it's like what 250 million a season and it was like 8 or 9 episodes?
Andor.
Like I know that there's inflation and everything obviously since 2009 or whatever, but
okay, well,
still.
Well, according to CBR and Screen Rant, it was about 27 million per episode.
Yeah, so over 5 times that cost. That's the inflation isn't that much. So basically, they should have made Lucas's show because it would have cost less, even relative to the time, and probably been a lot better than anything Disney Star Wars. It's just funny how much they're willing to pour into current TV shows.
Yeah, they were also going to get freaking... Yeah, and John, I know you're a bit of a Star Trek fan, or at least a casual one, but they were also going to get freaking Ron Moore to be head writer of the show. And if you don't... And John, if you don't
know... like a TNG writer?
Yeah, he had written multiple episodes, and he was the story editor for The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, wrote 2 episodes for Voyager, and he was the showrunner for the 2003 version of Battlestar Galactica. Yeah.
Which I know is pretty highly regarded.
Yeah. And it was planned to be a 100 episode series, although they were actually hoping to make it a 400 episode series.
Jeez.
So if Underworld got made, it would have been one of 3 shows to have passed 400 episodes. The other being the U.S. version of Space Patrol and Doctor Who.
Live action.
Yeah, live action sci-fi shows. Yeah. Anyway,
not counting. Sci-fi. I was gonna say not counting soap operas, obviously.